Safety Harbor's new weekly talk show. I'm Scott Long, and every week we are going to talk about stuff that's going on right here in the 34695. So we're going to have some great newsmakers on here to talk about things. We're going to recap some news from around town and things to do for the week. And then we're going to end the show with something I call 5 Qs, where I'm going to get inside the head of my guest and have a little fun. So
it's a scary place.
Definitely is. So I want to welcome my guest for the first show, Aaron Stewart. He's a managing partner of Southern Fresh and Coastal Cantina restaurants right here in Safety Harbor. And one thing I want to say is this show is not going to be pay for play, but if I ever do have a relationship with one of my guests, I want to be upfront with it. And Quaz Creative has been helping you with marketing for the last couple of years. So there's a financial relationship there. And I probably should have had somebody else on for the first show because of that. But I got to say, no one is making more news in Safety Harbor than you are right now, particularly among people that dine out. So, and what I'm talking about, of course, a concept that's been very common in Europe, Canada, some tourist areas, and Tampa Bay, in the United States, but is relatively new to the Tampa Bay area. And you are the first one in Safety Harbor to do it. And that is applying a automatic 20% service charge to all guest checks at both restaurants. So obviously it's a big change for diners.
It is.
And so I thought that was a good reason to have you on. And I'm glad you got this fancy new chef coat here. I'm like, I bet that's
I've been working in this for a year, man.
Yeah.
Never got a stain on it.
Super comfortable in Florida, right? Yeah. All right, so let's dive right into here. So I've had a lot of conversations with friends about this. I've followed everything on social media about this as well, too. You and I have talked about it. But let's start with just what is the difference between a service charge and a gratuity? Because what I hear a lot from people complaining is you're forcing a tip on them.
Right.
And then that's not the case, right?
Right. And this is definitely a splash in the pot, issue, because it's a fundamental change in how our industry operates. And it's no secret to anybody that restaurant operators are scurrying different ways to, try to keep places viable and with record inflation and staffing shortages. And this doesn't only affect ownership or management. This affects everybody in our industry. People are getting fatigued because everywhere you go right now, short-staffed, right? So everybody's scurrying different ways, and some operators are doing things like with margins just decreasing to almost nothing. Some people are raising prices. Yeah. There's a tipping scale. How much can we raise prices before our consumers say, we just need to eat at home? Yeah. Some people are doing things like taking the credit card charges, which are 4 to 5%, and passing those on to the customer or the employees. Yeah. Some places are on employee tips are saying, well, you're paying the credit card processing fees on that. And this is nothing out of greed. This is nothing, there aren't many restaurants that I know of right now that are just absolutely, rolling in the dough.
Right, yeah.
So we're all looking for ways to come out, to emerge out of this post, pandemic era and become viable again and thrive.
Yeah.
So...
so you mentioned raising prices, and that's like the first thing that I hear from people is like, why don't they just raise prices? So is there help me explain that to folks, because it is a reasonable question to ask, right? But this service charge does something different than just raising prices, right?
It does. And to circle back and to really answer your question, the difference between a service charge and a tip is a service charge is a fee that the establishment is putting on the bill to provide the service. A tip is a two-party transaction between you and your server at the time. Rightfully so, any tip cannot be altered, garnished, anything by the establishment owner. That is the employee's money. Once again, rightfully so. A service charge now, we implement this charge, we collect it, and now instead of our guest primarily paying the server's wage, the facility, the establishment now pays the percentage of that wage from the service charge.
So let's get into this a little bit because now what this allows you to do is pay support staff a little bit more, right? So your cooks, food runners, things like that as well too. So when this 20% charge is on my tab, what portion of it goes to who?
So, and here's the beauty of this. So, with the previous system, the tip-based system, what has happened is the hourly rate has gotten so high that the majority of our payroll budget is funneled to one position, and that's a service position. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, servers deserve to make money. And they absolutely do. You know, our servers are our family. They're our friends. We're servers. We're hands-on in our restaurant. We're serving tables. We're bussing tables. I'm a hands-on chef. And we want everybody to thrive, but what it's done is tipped the scale to one position. And I think anybody that's dined out for a significant amount of time, you remember a day where you walked up and there was a hostess, there was a separate food runner, there was a separate runner, busser. Some places had server assistants. And over the years, those have kind of dwindled. And so as servers and bartenders and front of house employees are still making money, they're working so much harder for it now, and they're performing 4 jobs. They're bussing tables, and they're answering phones, and they're running food. What we're doing is, with this 20% service charge we implement, 15% of that goes directly to your server. So now they're working on, our front of house team are working on commissions now versus flat tips. The other 5% goes to support staff, i.e. food runners, bussers, hostesses, bartenders, all this good stuff. So what is happening now is our servers are able to be more professional in learning our menu and our products and spend more time out at the tables with you rather than running back to the kitchen, scraping plates, answering phones, bussing tables, all that.
Right. All right, makes sense. So we talked a little bit about the why, but really want to dive into this now because I'm not aware of any industry that's more fundamentally changed by COVID than the restaurant and hospitality industry.
Very fair
you
statement.
guys came out of this, all these supply chain problems made it hard to get food.
Sure.
Prices were all over the place. Inflation is affecting now too. But the real thing was finding staff. I'm like, it is. I don't know a restaurant I've gone to that doesn't have the help wanted sign out permanently now. Right?
Permanently, yeah. It's a mural on the front of the building. Yeah. So
talk a little bit about what would have happened, because I know you have a belief on what would happen if you hadn't gone down this road, and that you think other restaurants are going to need to go down this road as well too. So speak a little bit about that, and also why the pressure from the new restaurant world
sure
is forcing folks into more creative solutions like this.
Yeah, well, price increases. I mean, we've all seen it, and we go to the grocery store, and everything's more expensive. And in the restaurant industry, it's not just the food. Labor has went up, and we want everybody to thrive and be able to support themselves and their families if they have one with their profession, which is in our case working at Southern Fresh or Coastal Cantina. But prices on everything have gotten so high between labor for repairs and parts, cleaning chemicals, insurance, just all the way around the board, and it happens so fast. So in our industry, we're used to raising prices here and there and keeping up, and this just happened so fast that everybody was just taken back. So, and I want to really make this known is, this is not a topic that we're trying to keep secretive. We're not trying to slip a charge in on our guest. At the end of the day, the last thing we want is to make this a establishment versus guest tug of war, because we lose that battle. We lose that battle every time, and the majority of our guests are, we know them face to face. We know their kids' names. We know where they live, and we're friends and acquaintances with these folks. So of course, this is so different that everybody's like, "What you're trying to be deceitful," or what? We're not. And this is a new program that's great, and we're trying to get the word out. Without it, our prices would have had to go up, splash in the pot today, 30%. With the way we're implementing this new service charge, is with the 15% that your server receives, if you choose not to tip any extra on that check, your amount to eat in a restaurant hasn't went up. And so it's helping us keep prices down. You know, in our industry, the most fearful decision we have to face is raising prices, because everybody thinks, oh, and this is just a misconception, but they're getting greedy.
Yeah.
And this isn't a matter of greed. It's not about being secretive. This was an essential move to keep our concept viable and thriving in the future. And I think a lot of, especially smaller, individually owned, ran, and managed establishments are going to be changing over to this in the next couple months.
Yeah, one of the things you said to me that was really interesting was that most restaurants really have three options going forward. One is to adopt this service charge like you have. Mm-hmm. Two is to go the kiosk, iPad route, and they don't have any real people there.
Right.
Or out of business. And that was really stark to hear that. And, I'm 51 coming up soon, so I need to embrace the whole kiosk iPad thing. I know the younger generation probably doesn't care about that, and that's fine. But but it takes me twice as long to order a hamburger at McDonald's on the kiosk than it does to talk to them. So I'm not excited about that taking over. I'm also not excited about restaurants going out of business. So
yeah,
interesting.
Well, the industry has changed, and any responsible business owner is, of course, incorporating all this great technology we have into our businesses, and we need to incorporate that. But if you realize and you really dig into it, in the last even before 2020, in the last, let's say, 5 years, the largest growing segment in the restaurant industry is what we call QSRs, quick service restaurants, counter serve. You know, you walk up, you order from an iPad, you get your food, you go sit down, and you dispose of your trash when you leave. And that's great. I endorse these places. I love these places. I would probably be part of a QSR in my future. But for full service dining, where you choose to have somebody assist you and guide you through the menu and have your food delivered, there's two options going forward. And it's to replace front of the house teams with iPads and, table side ordering, by the guest, or adopt this model. The current or the former tipped-based pay system is straight up just unsustainable. The smaller restaurants can't sustain this pay model.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I want to talk to you about how servers make money. But you mentioned tips right away. One of the interesting things that I always hear in this conversation from the older generation, and I consider myself part of that generation now too, they love to say that TIP stands for to ensure proper service. Now, let's put aside from the matter that it's insure with an E, not insure with an I. So it doesn't really make sense. But I think that's one of the things that I get is that these folks feel like they're entitled to decide how much to pay your employee for taking care of them, right?
Sure.
And they feel like maybe that that server is not making as much on this deal. Now, you said obviously 15% to the server. I would say generally, and I think you said your average tips before this were above 20%, right?
Yes, they've raised. The standard years ago was 15%, and now we're averaging 20% plus, and I think 20% has kind of become the
So average. If you're a 20% tipper, nothing really changes from a customer standpoint here, and you can add more on, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But I think it's a reasonable question for people to ask, hey, if the server's only getting 15% now, where before they were getting 20%, how are they making out on this? So how do you explain that?
Sure. Well, in a couple notes, too. So remember, most restaurant formats, and we've always prided ourselves on keeping tip outs low because we want our team to make as much as they can. But remembering, in most restaurant settings, under the tipped-based pay system, if you tip somebody 20%, 5% of that's going to support staff already.
Okay. Tip
bussers, food runners, bartenders, all that. So before, they were still tipping out that 5%. Now the server, this bypasses that paperwork. They look at their sales at the end of the evening, and they can calculate immediately, I made 15% of these sales. So yeah.
Okay. So then probably the most important question for folks watching is, why is it good for them? as a customer, why is this model something that I should not just tolerate but embrace?
Embrace. First and foremost, this model, and I stand here speaking with everybody out of true, genuine feeling that this has made, in the short 6 weeks we've implemented this system, has made our restaurant operate better, meaning you're going to receive a better experience. It's a better workplace for our team, for everybody involved. The question is, how does the server make more money if now they're making 15% and they're not making that 20%? And, well, they're capped at the 15%. Well, they're not capped because we're still asking if your server did an exceptional job, and if you come into our establishments, every person on our team is going to do everything they can to deliver a great product to you. We ask for, if you tip an extra 5-10%, that goes straight to the server. That doesn't go into the tip pool. But at the end of the day, our service team now has more support. And they're standing in the dining room. They're taking some more tables. They're able to refill your beverage a little quicker rather than you waiting that 4 to 5 minutes because our team's overwhelmed. They're there for you more to provide better service. They can handle more workload.
And then the last thing I think you would agree, right, is that you're able to attract a better employee now, right? I mean, it's so hard to find employees in general.
Yeah.
But to get the better ones, I mean, now you're paying more. You're being able to pay more for cooks and dishwashers and that. So you've actually had what's considered now a flood of resumes, right?
Flood.
I mean, it's still a trickle, but it's what's considered a flood now, right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine that, ultimately, if I have a better person cooking my food, I'm going to enjoy my experience better, right? And this is allowing you to hire those better employees, right?
And I've been in the industry, Scott, since I was 15 years old. I've left a couple times thinking that, I was done, but this is where I am. This is what I do. And there's always been, the scale has always been tipped unfairly away from the kitchen. What our guys and our folks do in the kitchen, what we're able to reimburse them, and everybody says, well, just pay your kitchen more. But remember, at the end of the day, a business runs on a budget. What we bring in, there's a starting number and there's a bunch of minuses, and what's left at the bottom is what we have. And we would love to pay everybody, an absorbent amount of money. Yeah. But what this has done now, and folks in the industry, I'm kind of speaking on an operator perspective and a guest perspective so everybody understands, but service industry workers, we all know what our kitchen folks have made, $12, $13 an hour, and nobody can live on that now. We're starting unexperienced cooks with the right attitude at 18 right now, all the way up to $25 an hour for line cooks. Our dish utility position, we now start at $16, $17, $18. One of the beautiful parts about this is we've been able to create jobs while many industries are eliminating them.
Right.
We've been able to bring in younger high school age people, start teaching them job skills. They're part of this support staff. I have a young man that's worked with us for 6-7 months now, and he's 15 years old, and I'm paying him $18 an hour to work dish shifts. Yeah. Nobody could have done this under the old system. So this has made everything level. Everybody's happier with less stress and a better product. A year ago, we closed our business down because we didn't have enough staff.
Yeah.
We're trying to recruit. We are 100% scratch kitchen. And it takes a lot of hands. Not one or two folks cannot execute what we do. So this is really exciting to let us not only stay around and hang out and do what we do, but to thrive and to grow and to help the industry innovate going forward.
Right. All right, well, thank you, Aaron. So stick around for our 5 Qs here, but I want to go ahead and do the news. At its most recent meeting, the Safety Harbor City Commission authorized City Manager Matthew Spohr to negotiate a deal with the Safety Harbor Resort and Spa for a new shared-use parking lot to be built on spa property near Waterfront Park with more than 60 spots. Also, Safety Harbor may be in line for a refund from the City of Clearwater as Clearwater continues to investigate a meltdown that resulted in months, if not years, of recyclable material not being sent to the right plant. And finally, Safety Harbor Chamber of Commerce will have a new leader come May 1st. President and CEO Susan Peterson has announced that she is retiring, and Director of Member Services Cami Lumpkin has been named her successor. All right, coming up this week, Friday evening, check out Doggy Date Night at Waterfront Park with fun for you and your dog. And stick around for the first Friday flicks later in the evening for a screening of Bolt. And Saturday is the annual Florida Sheriff's Youth Ranch Open House featuring free food, games, Sheriff's Office vehicles, and an opportunity to learn more about what they do at the Youth Ranch. I've been there before. It's a fantastic event. And then Saturday is also the annual Paint Your Heart Out Safety Harbor Paint Day, where volunteers will paint 5 houses for people in need. And volunteers are still needed for that if you're looking for something to do Saturday morning. More details on all these things and other news and things to do items and plenty more can be found on the Clause 34695 app. It's available for free at the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. All right, so now we're going to do something that I call 5 Qs. And we're going to try to have a little fun here.
Should I be nervous here?
You should be. And get to know you a little bit better. So when people come and complain to you about the 20% service charge, maybe they'll laugh a little bit as well, too.
Right.
All right, so I've got 5 questions, and I came up with 2 categories that I thought you might be interested in. I'm going to give you the choice.
Okay.
Which categories you want. All right, so first category, famous Hungarian violinist of the 1680s.
Interesting.
Or the South.
You know, let's go with the South.
Okay. Those are some good violinist questions. We'll hit those up.
I love the violin, by the way. It's
on a future
beautiful
show.
Instrument.
All right. But South is probably more in your wheelhouse.
It's probably more in my
Probably
wheelhouse.
more in your wheelhouse.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. All right. Question number 1. What's your go-to country music song?
Oh, man. I just can't answer that because it depends on the time, the place, the mood. I'm going to go a little classical with it, and my number 1 song may be a song written by Waylon Jennings called Lukenbach, Texas.
All right.
Yeah. And then that's going back a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, music's one of those things, Scott, like, what's your favorite color? Well, what type of mood am I in? You know, what's your favorite music? Am I on a beach having a beverage, or am I at work? I listen to 2 different musics. Am I at the gym working out? Which, you know, maybe there's no music involved there right now.
Yeah, I was going to go with Gretchen Wilson, right? I'm not a country music fan.
Big fan. Big fan, yeah.
But that all jacked up, that's a fun tune, I think.
That gets the blood moving.
Yeah. You know, I could also say Taylor Swift, but she's not a country music. Probably never really was, right?
Love what Tay Tay does.
Okay. All right, cue number 2. Favorite dish your grandma used to make?
It's a no-brainer. It's fried chicken.
All right.
Yeah.
Thought you might get a little out of bounds there, but no, you're gonna go straight to the
You know, it's just memories. Food is timeless. You know, to me, food is culture, and food is timeless. And once again, if you ask me my favorite dish, I can't pick that. You know, I enjoy food all the way around the board, but growing up on Sunday mornings with, you know, my grandmother frying chicken and the family's around, and, you know, just there's a bunch of chaos and just family life. I mean, that's a memory. Every time you eat fried chicken, you go back and you remember that, you know.
And that's one of the things I love about the South here, because I'm a Yankee carpetbagger here, right? So we didn't really have that experience growing up. So I'm like, if I had to answer that, it'd be like, you know, a box of Bugles. Remember those things? The corn chip things. I used to love that. And
well, and you know, fried chicken isn't something you're getting. I mean, it's a process.
Yeah.
You know, believe me, I can vouch for that personally. But so your grandma's spending all day doing that. You're not getting that. If you miss Sunday supper, you're not getting that again until Sunday. So.
Yeah. And then my grandmother used to do like Easter dinner. I remember that, but. Yeah, then I remember Stroh's. My grandmother used to love drinking Stroh's.
Stroh's, okay.
And I drink some really bad beer now, but I can't drink Stroh's. Maybe if I had fried chicken, maybe I can.
Well, you know, one other thing is we had, you know, everybody went different ways, and this was before a lot of social media and everything, but, you know, we had school, parents had work, cousins were outside working on a car, but there was 30 minutes to an hour a day that everybody stopped. You came in and you ate together, no matter how busy your lives were.
Oh, wow.
You stopped and you ate together, and that's we try to carry that in our restaurant where, you know, we're all busy, you know, and 1 hour a day we can sit down with a friend, a family member, a business acquaintance or whatever, and sit down and just enjoy food for an hour a day.
Wow. Imagine how many problems that would solve.
Yeah.
Not easy to do, I get it. So.
No.
All right, cue number 3. Explain NASCAR.
High octane fuel, lots of horsepower, lots of left turns.
I'm not hating on that. I'm not hating on NASCAR at all. Again, it's one of those things that this is so fascinating. This difference between the North and the South and all this stuff, right? Because when I was growing up, that was a Southern sport. Like nobody in Ohio even know how to spell NASCAR, right? And then the Northerners figured out there's money in NASCAR. And now they're totally into it, and it's probably changed from what it was before, but
it's really come a long way. And it's. A lot of people think NASCAR is just a driver getting in a car and making left turns, but it's a team sport. There's weeks and of course years to develop a team, but coming up to race day, there's all week long, folks are tweaking their cars and making adjustments and having meetings, and from the pit crew to the engineers to the whole team, and it really is a team sport. And I think what NASCAR's done in the last years is it's really there's. I hate to use it, lack of a better term, but there's almost a soap opera vibe behind it. You follow your driver, you follow your favorite driver and what they're doing in their life and what 2 drivers aren't getting along this week. But it's a competition. It's a competition with fast cars. Who can't love that?
And you can bring your own beer.
You can bring your own beer.
When I was with my dad, and I used to take me to Daytona 500 a lot, and when I first realized you could take your own beer into a sporting event, that's a game changer. Can you imagine trying to bring a beer into the Bucks game? You could see the security on the walkie-talkie. Woman with baby formula, get her before she gets to the seats. And then in NASCAR, you just roll your cooler right on in.
You hang out.
Fantastic.
So the first NASCAR race, a group of our friends got together and went to, and we can bring our own beer. So we've got these backpack coolers, and of course we're going to bring in the highest capacity of beers we can, even though there's no possible way we're going to drink those beers in the next 5 hours. And we're getting in a stadium, and it's like weighing you down. At the end, you still have cases of beer left. Just because we were able to do it, we're not just bringing a 6-pack, we're bringing 24 beers in. Each.
Oh, man. All right, cue number 4. Y'all.
Well, I guess that would depend on your background and your upbringing, but I use the abbreviation y'all a lot, certainly a Southern term, and there is something I will reveal something to everybody. If a strong Southern woman looks at you in your eyes and says, "God bless your pretty little heart," it may not be a compliment. So that could be a way for a Southern woman to tell you to get in line.
I love this because when we moved down here, we moved to Pensacola first. We spent 2.5 years in Pensacola, and Tampa Bay is not the South to me. Tampa Bay is like Ohio with better weather, because everybody from the Midwest is down here. I'm like,
Florida's
you might be one of the 2 people that actually is born and raised in Safety Harbor, right?
Florida's the only state you go north to go south.
Yeah. Exactly. And Pensacola is south.
Yes,
it's not even Florida. We called it L.A., Lower Alabama up there.
Okay.
But I loved it. I loved the food. I loved how nice everybody was. I can't imagine how many times somebody said, "Bless your heart" to me. And then when I found out, it's like the digs that you guys still getting for losing the war, right? And having a phrase that makes you feel like, "Oh my gosh, bless your heart, thank you." That said something good when they're really.
And this is something I think, Scott, you have to pay attention to the tone more than the statement, because there could be somebody saying, "Bless your heart."
I actually mean it.
Yeah. Exactly. But there is also a sarcastic way to say, "God bless your little heart." And that might not be a compliment, but I was raised by a circle of extremely strong Southern women and proud Southern women and great Southern women, and it's not always a nod. Sometimes they will say, "You did something good today, God bless your heart."
All right. Yeah, do you guys get upset when us Yankee carpetbaggers say y'all? Because I've adopted. I think it's fun. I mean, I don't do it to try to be Southern. I just think it's a better thing than you all.
It is. Yeah, it is. And I don't believe so. I think we're in a time, I mean, man, there's so many folks have moved to our area in Florida that, it's to me, culture is about not necessarily right or wrong, but learning each other's culture and how you grew up. And, to me, the best way to know somebody is sit down and have a beverage or eat some food together and bust each other's chops a little bit about where we may have came from. I mean, there's so many great places to come from, but certainly invest that time to learn the culture and your friend's heritage and all that.
Absolutely. It would make us all a little bit better if we did that.
Yeah.
All right, final cue. This is going to be really interesting. Favorite fried chicken not from Southern Fresh. So.
Oh, man. So there's only one answer I'm allowed there, and that's my mother's.
All right, let me change this up. Favorite fried chicken restaurant not Southern Fresh.
Oh, man. Once again, favorite, I'm a fried chicken user. So, when it comes to, chains, I'm going to give a shameless plug here, but I love some Popeyes fried chicken.
I figured you might go Popeyes.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good places. There's always been, and I know these folks see some of our posts, but growing up with relatives in Plant City, I grew up with a lot of good fried chicken, but there's a market out there that's always been a real influence to me, and it's Fred's Market. They do a great job. There really are so many places, and best fried chicken. Oh man, how do we choose?
Depends on the mood you're in, right?
Yeah. Are we putting it in buttermilk? That can be delicious. Are we dipping it in mustard and breading it? Are we just dredging it in flour? Are we going to make it spicy? Are we going to go sweet? Are we going to put it over a waffle and put a nice maple syrup on there, or a spicy honey? And we have that local company here making the hot honey. And man, favorite is just such a subjective term because I like it all. I like variety. Yeah.
Well, all right, I got to come clean here. I don't think I've ever told you this, Aaron, but so my favorite outside of Southern Fresh is I hate to call it a chain. It's not really a chain, but they do have like 10 locations now because it popped up and became really popular. But Gus's Fried Chicken from Memphis, Tennessee, and it is very spicy.
Yes.
I like the spice in it. And Gus is a smart guy. He knows you can't have one beer with his chicken. You're going to have 6, right? But it's fantastic. And plus, they always have chess pie, too, which I didn't know what that was, but now I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, they're all over the place. They even have a place in Chicago now, so it's kind of crazy.
Good for them.
But, so what it did, though, and not just Gus's, but some other places up in Pensacola and in South, the whole Cajun, it's always a little spicier.
Sure.
Than when I got here. So we've been going to Southern Fresh since you opened. But at the beginning, I always thought the chicken was a little bland because of that, right? And now I'm like, I crave Southern Fresh like once a week at least, and it's perfect. And probably Gus would probably be too spicy for me now.
Right, yeah.
But is that and I guess what I always explained to like friends was, I'm like, it's probably an older client down here, right? That doesn't have that.
Well,
or is it more of like a focus that spices narrows your market, maybe, right?
It definitely narrows your market. It's a niche, but the Nashville hot chicken is amazing.
Yeah, it's a new trend.
It's amazing, and I think to us, our fried chicken is all about the skin.
Yeah,
getting that skin crispy and crunchy, and you bite into that, and it almost crackles a little when you cut into it. It's funny you bring up the Nashville hot fried chicken because it's amazing, and over the last couple of years we've been considering rolling out our version, and those folks did something so unique that if you put your own spin on it, it's not Nashville hot fried chicken.
Yeah.
And it deserves that legacy to remain what it is. And we've been really thinking a lot here, and I've been toying around with some dishes, and I'm not going to give you too much insight into what we're doing. Maybe we can come back and I'll roll it out on air here. But we are in the works within the next 3 weeks of rolling out our Florida Man chicken.
Oh, nice.
We all hear the jokes, Florida Man. It's not all alligators and big mosquitoes everywhere, but kind of a joke to play in on the Florida Man term. We're creating our own version of an inspired dish by the Nashville hot chicken.
Oh, interesting.
Within the next few weeks, we'll have that up. So,
see, I didn't even know that. Fantastic.
Yeah. We're going to incorporate a lot of different cultures and ingredients that are Florida. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, well, I want to thank Aaron Stewart for being here for our very first show, and we'll be back next week. And be sure to check out the Quaz 34695 app and give us some feedback and let us know. Thanks a lot.
And just in closing, just to reiterate the fact that this is such a fundamental change in our industry, and it is different. Please, all we ask is, once again, this isn't us versus our guest base. It's different. Just give it a chance to take a look at it and at least do some reading and learn about it. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. So, yep.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.